All right. So I was at a video game award show. It was one of the VGAs. It may have been a Spike show, or it may have been Keeley's show. I don't remember. It was right when Keeley was moving out of Spike and moving into his own stuff. So I don't remember, but it was in Los Angeles, and boy, I got a ticket. I got an invite, and in the invite, it was like, oh, this is the time of the show, and this is the time of the red carpet, and here are your credentials to get on the red carpet, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, that'll be fun. And hang on. Hang on here. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. I was in San Diego at that point, but I loved getting back to LA. And there was this woman who, I'm just going to fucking tell you at this point. I should ask her point blank. I think she's a Patreon member, but beautiful woman, very smart, very intelligent, very creative. And she also happened to be beautiful. I thought she was cool. And so I asked her, I call her, I says, hey, you want to go to this thing with me? And she says, yeah. And she would work for an agency, right? Like a movie, TV, video game agency. I'm almost certain that they hired her to get a bunch of the video game geeks on board. Like, oh, come work here and come let us represent you. And not that there was any promises of anything, not that there should be. That would be awful for her and for everyone. But I don't know. Because she flirted with me like a lot. But it never really went that far. So I'm kind of thinking, was that the job? It's like a spy. Was it the job or was it really me? The point is, I go to this thing with her. It's my dog. I just touched my dog. And I love my dog, but he makes my eyes itch. And I go to this thing with her, and before the show, it's like, oh, let's go walk the red carpet. And I had assumed, because they had sent me an invite, that I was one of the people on the list to walk the red carpet. And there would be people who knew, here's the order of people coming down the red carpet if you want to do interviews or whatever. But it really wasn't that, right? Because we walked the entire red carpet. I'll tell you what I think it ultimately was, but we walked the red carpet, and only, and the way it works is, in any red carpet situation, you walk the red carpet, you've got the different media outlets on the other side of the rope, and they'll shout out, and you'll stop if you want, and you'll talk to them for a few minutes, do some interviews, take pictures, whatever. And this was the VGAs. So I was not expecting, this wasn't GDC, where most people there were there because they love games. A lot of it was like, hey, Snoop Dogg's going to be here. Come from Entertainment Weekly and take a picture. Okay. But there were video game outlets there. And I was kind of at the height of my public awareness, I suppose, and in that world of video games. And so I expected something, and I walked the whole thing, and I hear my voice finally. It was like crickets. I'm like, well, this is really embarrassing, especially I'm walking it with this girl. And I finally, towards the end, hear somebody call, Jaffe. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, these are my people. And I turn, I don't know if he remembers this. I haven't talked to this. I think he's in video games now, like he makes them. I turn, and it's Sam Kennedy from 1UP back in the day. And I was like, oh, okay, I know this guy. We'll talk video games. This will be fun. And I'll score some cool points with this girl. Like, that would be cool to her. Hi, you got interviewed by 1UP. Shut up. You're an idiot. Shut up. And I said, hey, man, what's up? And he goes, oh, just saying, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Enjoy the show. I'm like, he didn't even want an interview or pictures. He just wanted to say, oh, I know that guy. Hey, hello, Sam. How are you? God damn it. Anyway, the point is, that sucked. And I don't know why. I do know why that came to mind, because I was hearing somebody yesterday talk about these speakers that come around to high schools, like motivational speakers. And it occurred to me that when I was in my kind of, notoriety days, fame days of that world, I was kind of the second biggest export to come out of my high school. Still am. They never called me once and said, Jaffe, come on back and talk to the kids. Not once. They never asked me. I was always like, oh, you should ask. I didn't say this because that's kind of presumptuous, and I don't want to ask to be asked. But I was hoping my high school would be like, oh yeah, Jaffe, you're for this high school, you're the second biggest deal. First one, Courtney Cox. Courtney Cox went to my high school. She was a few years before me. I only knew her because I didn't even know her, but I interacted with her because she used to rent me videos. She worked at her dad's pool supply company. So every Friday I would go there and rent Raiders Lost Ark, and she would be there working. Hey, it's me from the future. Sorry to interrupt. I just realized I need to make this really clear. This was before videos were a big, you didn't have Blockbusters or even mom and pop stores. You just had people like this. They had a pool supply store, and in the back they rented videos. That's how nascent, that's how new the home video market was. Okay, anyway, just because I knew people would go like, what the fuck are you doing at a pool supply getting Raiders? But here we go. But I never knew her as Courtney Cox, and it wasn't until she got on Friends that my mom was like, you know who that is? That's how she talked. You know who that is? She didn't talk like that at all. It was more like, David. No, that's my dad. Anyway, the point is Courtney Cox. But they never asked me. They never said, Jaffe, come on now. We want to, you know, probably because they knew I hated high school. And they knew that I probably would not give the best. My speech would be something like this. School doesn't matter. What matters is what you can do for people. What matters is, can you make them money? What matters is, can they depend on you? Everything else, unless you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that you really need that college education for, it's a waste of time. Don't worry about it. That's what I would say, and they probably knew it. And thus, I'm here with you and not at Mountain Brook High School. The point being, though, is I would rather be with you today. It's good to see you. Let's talk about the video games, fellas. There's a lot going on. I do want to let you know. No, you know what? I'm going to start with some cool things. I want to show you two cool things first. I usually put these at the back end of the show, but these are cool. I want to show them to you. I will not buy this. I will not acquire this. I don't even know where one goes to get this. I'm not even a huge X-Men fan. I like X-Men, the X-Men, whatever. I like them all. But I never really got into the X-Men like I got into the Avengers and Spidey and all that shit. But anyway, there's a Wolverine controller that looks pretty good coming out based on X-Men 97. I've not watched it yet. I hear it's great. But then as you can see on your screen, there is a gorgeous wrapped custom X-Men 97 Xbox Series X. Now, I don't think you can acquire this without winning it. Yeah, you have to win it. It's from Xbox. You can't go out and buy it. And it's kind of annoying that Xbox does this all the time. But then, it's like, can I just buy it? But then you get thinking about it. I don't know about you guys. I don't display this. All of my consoles are under my desk right now. So even if I had this, no one would see it. I wouldn't see it. But it is pretty cool. The other thing I want to show you that I know some of you guys are going to lose your pantyhose over, and that's fine. Pantyhose are kind of outdated anyway. I want to show you one more thing with AI, but it's video game related. You may have seen this. I don't want to sell you on anything. I just want to show you. It's a trailer for Super Mario, the movie, if they would have made Super Mario in 1954. Now, this is a little bit more than somebody going in and just saying, make me that. There's probably 7 or 8 AI programs at work here that then had to be edited and modded and all this. But regardless, if this was a trailer in your local motion picture house show, good and well, you'd go see it. I sure as fuck would. Let me get my face off the screen here. I'll let you guys watch it, and we'll come back and we'll get into some of the news of the day. Here we go. This Super Mario 1954. Blink and you would have missed it. No, it never actually came out, but it sure looks like it did.
Welcome to the Mushroom Kingdom, a land of magic and adventure, where a plucky plumber embarks on a quest to save his beloved princess and thwart the plans of a dastardly villain. Meet Mario, the legendary hero known for his bravery and his insatiable appetite for adventure. Joined by his loyal brother, Luigi, the noble Princess Peach, and a colorful cast of friends and foes, Mario must journey through enchanted forests, treacherous caverns, and towering castles to rescue the princess and restore peace to the kingdom. Armed with his trusty jump and a collection of magical power-ups, Mario faces off against Bowser and his army of Koopa Troopas, Goombas, and other minions in epic battles that will determine the fate of the Mushroom Kingdom. But amidst the chaos and danger, Mario's indomitable spirit shines through, inspiring hope and courage in the hearts of all who call the Mushroom Kingdom home. And let's not forget his origins, from his humble beginnings battling barrels in the wilds of Donkey Kong's jungle. Get ready for a wild ride through a world of wonder and excitement, where every step is a leap of faith and every challenge is a chance for heroism. Super Mario, an adventure for the whole family. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Look, nitpick it all you want. This is the future, my friends. Yeah, I get it. The mustache changes. Yes, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But as somebody on the internet said yesterday when this went up, it was a year and a half ago when Will Smith was eating pasta. Remember that? And it looked just nightmare fuel. This is pretty fucking cool. And if AI can make this, like, imagine 5 years from now, more sooner than that, but imagine 5 years from now, you could plug this in without having to go through 7 or 8 other programs and make this movie. I'd watch the fuck out of this movie, and you would too. Come on now. I do want to, I'll tell you the thing that really I love the most in this. And anybody nitpicking this, though, is like, by the way, as an aside, it's one of the reasons people don't show, or people are scared sometimes to show early cuts of movies or pre-alpha video games or whatever, because as much as some people say they won't judge, they fucking judge. They fucking judge. So to watch this and go, see, look, watch this. Watch Princess Peach's castle. Right around here in the middle, you'll see it warp a little bit. See that? Right? Instead of pointing out, oh my God, look what they've done, it's amazing, some people are just going to focus on that. So, you know, you got to be careful of those kind of people. They're called nitpickers. They're no goddamn good. They were raised poorly, and they're joyless, and they need to go away. I do want to show you my favorite part of this trailer, though, man, is this is so 1950s, but like how they would have done it, but it's also creepy as fuck. Is the ghost, what's the name of the ghost? Alexa, what's the name of the ghost character in the Super Mario?
The name of the ghost character in Super Mario is Boo.
Oh, it's just Boo. I thought it was a little more elaborate, but look at this. This is great. Come on, that's creepy as fuck. That's creepy as fuck. I love it. Anyway, there you go. Super Mario. Enjoy that. And they've also done, the same company has done trailers, I think, for Terminator. They did one for Terminator set in the 50s. There's a bunch of other ones. Here's the Terminator. We're not going to watch it, but I'll remind me if I forget, and I'll give you guys a link on Discord or something for this. But this is pretty fucking cool. All right. Let's get to some video game news, my friends.
An extra, extra, read all about it, life story.
Shut the fuck up!
So this first news story has me very excited. We're recording this on April 29th. That's a Monday. Tomorrow is the anniversary of one of my favorite games ever. There you see it on your screen. It is Returnal, PlayStation 5 exclusive. Now it's on PC as well. I'll tell you what, man. It's a game I adore, given that I couldn't even come close to finishing it. I got to about the second boss, maybe the third boss, and I was just like, I can't do this game, you know. And they have since released some updates that make it a little bit more friendly. So maybe I'll go back. I will go back. It's rare when I say I'll go back, I really do, because there's always something else. But this is a game that keeps calling to me. I'm almost certain we won't get a sequel, but I rarely stop thinking about this game. That makes no sense. That would make me crazy. The point is, I think about this game a lot. And tomorrow, the developer, Housemarque, even though the creative director has moved on, and which is that bums me out a little bit, because I believe he was a pretty big voice to the spirit of this game and a big contributor. But regardless, boy, what a great game. Tomorrow's the 3rd year anniversary. And they've done this. They've tweeted out this image here of Celine, the main character, and that's all they are saying. And people are now obviously speculating. Does it mean DLC is coming? Does it mean just some updates? Does it mean, I would love an update that makes the game puts checkpoints after every boss and just has like a fucking mode that does that. I know. I even wonder, maybe the design director who left, he was adamant. And now that he's gone, they're like, can we please fucking, for the anniversary, could we put in, the code's been written, can we fucking, this is just my fantasy, I don't know if it's true, can we fucking put in the goddamn mode that lets you checkpoint after every boss? It doesn't have to interrupt the vision of the game. That can be the pristine version. We can call it easy baby, wear a diaper mode. I don't care. I would love that. I almost bought the game on PC because I was like, there's got to be a mod that lets me slow the game down. I don't need. I want it to have like that slowdown in Spider-Man 2 or Rollerdrome, where you can kind of slow the game down to 75%. Because as I've said many times before, at 53 years old and my skill level, my 75% version of playthrough is probably a 25-year-old pretty good gamer version playthrough of this game. So it's not like get good. There's a skill ceiling, motherfucker, and I need a mod to help me get there. There's so much to love about this game. I like rogue games. I have no problem with dying and respawning, and there's a few. This is mostly a rogue. There's a little bit of light in there, in that you actually do carry over some things, but most of what you pick up in a round is pretty much, if I recall correctly, gone. So is it a sequel? I cannot imagine this is a sequel, given the first one I don't think performed anywhere near the level it needed to. So, but we'll find out. By the time you're watching this, it's very possible we will already know what the big announcement is. But again, this is one of my favorites. I am super, super jazzed to see what's happening with this world. I'll tell you what, I don't think they've announced anything in regards to PlayStation Productions, but this would make a cool fucking low budget sci-fi horror movie. I would love to see them do that. I would love that. Maybe that's the announcement. Anyway, we'll find out tomorrow together, possibly. Let's move on. There's some more rumblings on the Switch 2. A peripheral creator for Nintendo products, including the current Switch in China, put up a Facebook post and has since taken it down, which suggests possibly, or they've actually edited it, to remove all the references to the Switch 2. But in that, people have gotten a little bit more of a taste of what is probably a pretty accurate leak. Here's what they say. It's conservative evolution of the original console. I'm reading this from GameIndustry.biz, but you can find it all over the internet. It's a conservative evolution. It's kind of seen as a refined pro version of the Switch. So not much different. It's not going to have the clam screen that it sounds like it's not going to have the clam screen that we've seen people doing concept art of and Wish images and all that shit. But it's going to have a bigger screen, which is nice. It's going to be 1080p resolution. I imagine they're kind of going after a little bit, at least, of the Steam Deck there. New controllers are smaller. They attach via magnets instead of these, where are my little Joy-Cons? The little sliders that they have right now, the whatever. You know what they are, these fucking things, right? You don't have to worry about sliding them in. They just stick, which might be kind of hard if you're playing it and you get all into it. And anyway, whatever. Switch 2 is also said to be backwards compatible with all physical digital games for the original, with a cart slot that will read Switch game carts. Carts, fuck you. However, this leak also said the Switch 2 games will be on new cards that are designed to not work with the current console. Interesting. For me, Nintendo's all about the games, and I don't mean that like that's a bad thing, but I rarely get jazzed about tech anyway. It's got to be real fucking unique, like the Apple Vision Pro, which I'm still not going to buy at $3,500. But with Nintendo, it's what makes them brilliant and just really one of the best, if not the best, who have ever done it in terms of make video games, are the games themselves. And so until I see those, it's kind of a non-issue for me. But I know a lot of people are excited about the sequel to the Switch. And here you go. Oh, real quick, here is a copy of the leak. You can't click on the, and this has since been edited. You can't click on it though, right? So you can't see what this little, I've tried to zoom in and shit. But I think what this picture is basically this right here, which I think most of us have seen floating around. It sounds like this was on the leaked Facebook post from the Chinese peripheral maker. So, it looks like the Switch, and there's nothing to scale here, right? The controller is supposed to be smaller, so I have no real sense of how much bigger this screen is, even though obviously it says it will be bigger. So early 2025 is the plan, is the assumed plan. I think that's correct. I think we'll see this. I think that's why they're skipping Gamescom. I think they're going to come out in February and then launch in March or April. In February, they'll show off the thing and pre-orders and show off the games and all that stuff. So I am excited to see what the games are. I'm sure there'll be a an up-res version of all the shit like they always do. Like, you know, we'll get a new Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe they'll push the two together, Breath and Tears. But I want to see the new stuff. So it'll be fun to look out for. What? Fun to look out for. Shut up. Sometimes you should just, it would be better to just go, and that's the end of that story. Right? Because that's at least, it'll be fun to look out for. No, it won't. What are you doing, Jaffe? Oh, I'm having so much fun. Really? What are you doing? I'm looking out for more information about this. Shut up. This language is so butchered by idiots like me. I got to show you this. This is awesome. This is coming from PC Gamer. This woman, and I'll show it to you in a second. She spent like 15 grand building what she calls the ultimate VR gaming setup. I'm just going to show you the video she put up, and I'll skip through it a little bit. I'll edit it because it's like 2 minutes. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. But let me first show you what her rig does. But she's basically made kind of a high-end, cobbled together haptic suits, plural, experience to make the game more immersive. It actually brings up a lot of interesting philosophical questions, but watch this.
This is an OWO suit. It's a haptic feedback device that produces real pain in VR using electrodes that go directly on your skin. It shocks you with electricity depending on what happens in a game. It's very painful.
Right? So she has basically a shock collar all over her body. I don't know what it's turned up to. I assume it varies based on the damage of the attack because she's playing SKYRIM modded. So
on top of that, I'm wearing another haptic suit that produces vibrations and using a smart plug along with fans to simulate temperature. I'm also going to be talking to an OpenAI NPC.
Yeah, that's the least interesting part of this. I mean, I love, you know, OpenAI PC NPCs, but in this case, it's goofy. But now let's just watch her fucking fight, man. So this is interesting. Here she goes. So she's going to fight some people with swords and shit.
All right, time to test out my abilities.
I don't know why that hurt her. I guess even firing, I guess even shooting the fire causes it to hurt her. Which sort of would make sense if you're a wizard and you have fireball spells. You'd think, you know, you're not Johnny Storm. You're not made of fire. So probably would be painful. Anyway. And so
should I jump off this cliff to see if it hurts?
Oh, yes, definitely. Jumping off cliffs is the best way to test your pain tolerance.
watch this. This is great.
I'm doing it. Oh. Ow!
Because I guess she's got some things on her ankles that shock her as well. And then she fights here she's fighting a dragon. I mean, it's funny, but it's also fascinating, I think, because, you know, it brings to question or brings to mind these questions of, you know, I've always had this theory that the reason we don't know what there is after death is if we knew, and there's a movie about this actually, but I think it's an accurate take, that if we knew there would just be a rash of people off themselves, because it's like, it would just be like hitting a reset button. It's not whatever. I've had a really rough day. I got fired. I got divorced, whatever. Let me just end it. Go somewhere else. Right. It's like, just like an off switch, but you know, of a video game, and you turn off the game and you go live your life. Well, you know, video games really, unless you're kind of chasing your own internal desires, like, oh, I want to get a high score, I want to beat the game, I want to get a platinum trophy, whatever, there's no real problem when you turn them off or when you die. Really, Jaffe? We didn't know that. Yeah, it's true. But this is interesting because now it starts to add actual stakes that you can feel. It's kind of the physical equivalent of linking your bank account to your hit points. And, you know, if you take damage, you lose money, right? The sense of fear and how you act in that world changes clearly. Like, I have to assume, unless you're a masochist, I can tell you I'm not. And if I was playing this game, I I would approach this shit a lot more cautiously. And I think it's clear that that's what she's doing. And then the article, PC Gamer had some really interesting ideas. I like this one. It says, well, first they write, do we need to actually be hurt in real life to make a game more immersive? Immersive is a weird word. It means a lot of things, but certainly it would make it more tense. I honestly don't know for sure, they say, but I'd be the first to try it out. I would too. But listen, picture a horror game. I love this idea that uses randomized pulses of light to shock you, to make you feel on edge all the time. I would play the fuck out of that, because then, yeah, you're just kind of walking down the hall and maybe you've got some control. Like if you haven't done X and X minutes, or if you, aren't carrying the right items, your body will start attacking itself, like you've swallowed some weird parasite or something. And so you don't know. It could be never. It could be every 20 minutes. It could be every 5 minutes where this thing just jolts you and it hurts. You would be like on the edge of your fucking seat, man. That's some good stuff. I mean, then it gets into a deeper question of, horror in general, or of like, ultimately, all of this is about avoiding pain. There's nothing conceptually that scary about Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th or Candyman. It's that you will die, right? So at that point, it's just like, it doesn't even have to be a horror theme. It's just like, look, this thing's going to shock you and hurt you. If you don't, shoot 5 3-pointers in NBA 2K, whatever. That sense of horror would probably still be there, even though the trappings would have nothing to do with it. But anyway, this is really cool. And you goddamn right, I would play around with this. I don't know if I'd want a game like this all the time, but it's pretty fucking neat. I like it. I respect it. Did you see this? One of my favorite game creators, Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil and Vanquished and Tango Gameworks. He's opened up in a YouTube channel about his leaving Tango Gameworks. He says he stayed there much longer than he wanted to. He was there for 8 years. He wanted to help get it off the ground. But when they asked him why he wanted to leave, he said, this is coming from VG Video Games Chronicle, he reportedly cited his desire to create an environment designed to give young game creators more regular experience by making games with shorter dev cycles, and said he thinks there's an audience for more unique small-scale titles. Now, I had to read this a few times because this sounds like what he said originally, why he came and founded Tango Gameworks. But no, this is what he's saying. He planned to leave for 8 years before doing so, but he felt a responsibility to continue working on the games at the studio. But then I guess, even though I thought this is what they were doing with stuff like Hi-Fi Rush and to an extent Tokyo, what's that fucking game with the Doctor Strange shit? I assume that's what he was doing, but perhaps it's not enough. But I love the idea that he wants to go off and focus on small scale games and getting new voices in there. He also says he wants to leave Tango to break free from survival horror, the genre. So I'm a little confused by this. This is, like I said, this here sounds like why he started Tango. So maybe there's more of a story that he wasn't able to actually get what he wanted, in that company, whether it was Microsoft or executives above him. Because he also said this, he says, he also clarified his role within the company. He said, I had only been the CEO for 6 months. I think a lot of people were under the impression I was the representative of the whole company, but I was very close to a rank and file employee. I had producer attached to my name, but I was not an executive or anything of the sort. So maybe that's what happened. Tango Gameworks, which was kind of a division of, I believe, ZeniMax, Bethesda, whatever, that was the intention behind it. But since he wasn't one of the big executives, he couldn't really make what he wanted to have happen. And so now maybe he's like, okay, fuck it. The only way this is going to work is if I am at that level that everyone assumed I was at to begin with. Yesterday, a fellow over at Reset Era leaked a treasure trove of data. It was the life-to-date revenue and life-to-date download totals for every major territory of PlayStation Network. So this is all digital. And this goes all the way back to 2008, I believe. I mean, this is some shit. I I have no idea how much more is coming. I don't know why this came out now. Did the hackers release it and this guy got it first and just compiled it? Or was this always there and no one knew what to look for? I have no idea. But there's a lot to talk about with this, and I want to first be really clear on a couple of things. We have to be careful if your real goal is information, because there's a lot of narrative that is not represented here. And so people who are out there saying, this, see, I told you this means this, maybe not so much. Here's a great example. Somebody posted this on Twitter. SIE leaked, Drawn to Death, the PlayStation Studios published PS4 exclusive, blah, 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 which was the last game I shipped, has only sold 3,850 copies. And this guy's like, why? Is that why Jaffe's so salty? Well, no, I'm not salty. I just was like, oh, okay, I guess my vision doesn't connect anymore with people. That's fine. Time to get off the stage. But what's interesting here is it's like, if you only go by the numbers that you see on this sheet, of course you would say, yeah, he's right. But the fact of the matter is, again, Drawn to Death was a dismal failure. I'm not trying to buttress it up. I'm using it as an example for why you need more data for some of these numbers to really assess properly. But with Drawn to Death, the budget was around 10 to 14 million. I don't know if you throw in PR or a little bit of marketing, but let's just say it was 12. That seems about right if I remember. And there was a huge portion of that budget. I won't give you the percent, but a meaningful percentage of that budget that was covered by the PlayStation Network. Now, again, it's still Sony money, but we as a game and as a developer and publisher made that money back. Not all of it. It was a failure, total flop. But we made a large percentage of the money back before we even shipped, because if you remember, we launched day one like Rocket League did. And that was the only similarity with Rocket League on PSN, right? So PSN were like, okay, we want this title. We want it day one. We'll pay you this. So while the game was a flop, 3,850 doesn't mean that that's the only number of people who played it. My point is just be aware that when people are out there telling you the stories behind these numbers, we don't really know. Another thing that's really fascinating about this is all the data is digital downloads. It's PlayStation Network, right? And the data goes back to 2005. So you really get to see the worm turning when it comes to digital becoming the predominant way people get their games. A good example of this is like Uncharted 4 right here. You would be forgiven if you just took the numbers at face value. Uncharted 4 launched in 2016. It has made $87 million as of June 2003. So these numbers are still a year old or so. And these guys have done about 3 million downloads of Uncharted 4. Okay, well, you'd say, well, that's not bad. It's pretty good, but I thought Uncharted 4 was the shit. Well, it is the shit, but Uncharted 4 is a game that came out in 2016, right? So the data that we have on that digital shift, where digital became and has become and stayed the dominant form, if you look at this on Statista, they go back to 2019. I think anybody looking at these numbers right here would be correct in assuming that, let's just say a 70% average is kind of where 70-30 split is where we're at, right? So if you go back to Uncharted, well, what percentage of this was digital and what percentage of the total sales was physical? So given that Uncharted was 2016 and most of the full price sale of that title happened before these charts that we're looking at, and we know that it was at best 50-50 digital physical, but back with Uncharted coming out, it was probably more like 30% digital, 70% physical. Then you can look at this and go, wow, 3 million downloads. That means there were probably 7 to 8 million actual physical sales, right? So you have to take that into account as well, which is why it's hard to look at some of the comments where people are like, see, look, Last of Us 2 biggest revenue earner, second biggest revenue earner. And that's clear from the numbers. You can't argue with that. But the narrative of going, see, it wasn't the flop. It didn't perform under expectations. You still can't really say that because all the information you need to make a statement like that, you're not getting it here. So the real problem with these numbers is you can make them mean whatever you want, because how much of the percentage of downloads were from when more of the download market was only 30% versus the 70% it is now. Some of these games that were done earlier cost less. Last of Us 1 cost less than Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2 sold for $70. Last of Us 1 sold for $60. Certain games have been on sale longer. Certain games have benefited from price cuts and being part of the PlayStation Plus Classic Collection. It's hard to really read any of this and walk away with any. There's one walk away that I think is valid, or there's a few. But when someone looks at this right now and says, oh, this means that they should make Last of Us 3 based on these numbers, they should just keep doing what they're doing. People loved it. I mean, I loved it, but there has been talk that maybe, that title went a little bit too, quote, woke, whatever. You know how I feel about that. I do not like the Horizon Forbidden West series, right? Or the Horizon series. So it's easy for me to look at these numbers and go, see, I'm right. Horizon Forbidden West shows that it's actually a pretty weak franchise. It's only number 16 in number of downloads. And maybe that's true. It may very well be true. If you look at Horizon downloads 6 million, Horizon Forbidden West 2 million. Now, yeah, there's been a large gap between when Horizon 1 and Horizon 2 came out. Horizon 1 had a lot more time to sell, but how does that compare to other similar games that had just as much more time to sell for their sequels, right? I would argue that the 6.2 and the 2.3 difference is much more of an indication that Horizon is in trouble as a franchise compared to the God of War 8.1 million and Ragnarok's 4.2 million, right? So it's a 50% drop in roughly the same amount of time, whereas this one is a 60% drop. But again, these are just guesses and you're filling in the blanks, and you have to know that your own confirmation bias is going to color these numbers in the absence of more information. So we don't really know, but we maybe kind of sort of know. Here are the two things I think, though, that you can walk away from this with. You can walk away looking at some things that clearly don't work. I think if you look at Death Stranding, that at this point had been out for 3.5 years, 1.5 downloads, 1.5 million downloads, 74 million in revenue. Again, the majority of which would be in the digital. Obviously, there was a director's cut that's on here somewhere, but it didn't move the needle dramatically. Returnal, I think, is obviously disappointing, right? Less than 500,000 downloads for that title. Brilliant fucking title. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, brilliant fucking title. Only 1 million copies at the time. What do you take away from that if you're Sony? Do you go, the arty farty stuff? Like, if they would have made Returnal a little easier, and don't fucking hit me in the comment, well, it is the easy thing. If you do this and this and this, there's actually a checkpoint. I understand, but most people aren't going to do this and this and this. Most people are going to die a couple times, wash out, and return to the goddamn game and tell their friends not to buy it. I'm not saying there shouldn't have been a mode that represented the purity of the vision, but sometimes there are director's cuts because there are director's cuts and the studio knows better. Similarly, Death Stranding. I don't know if they were contractually obligated to make a sequel, but ask yourself that. Ask yourself why the fuck they're putting out a Death Stranding 2 when this thing can't even clear 2 million in downloads. And that came out in 2019. Days Gone came out earlier, and it's around 11 million copies sold right now, anyway. And there's no sequel coming. So I'm just, it's clear that game didn't perform as well as people expected. But the bigger takeaway to me on this, this is interesting too, though. Look at Miles Morales compared to The Last of Us 2, right? Miles Morales, I'm just surprised that Miles didn't do as well as Last of Us 2 in terms of the download ranking, the number of downloads. I would have thought Spider-Man Miles Morales would have been higher Even though I know Last of Us 2 is this flagship, it's coming off this big hit, but so is Miles Morales. I know it's not Peter Parker, but did that matter to most people? I'm surprised. But then again, to be fair, Last of Us 2 came out in June and Miles came out in November. Yeah, but you would have had more time to sell. But maybe I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't really know. We don't really fucking know. But here's one thing we do know. Whether you're talking about these kind of more arty-farty games, or big games like Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart that only sold, 1.6 million or whatever. But even if you go deep into the archives with some of these more unique, interesting games Sony used to make, what this points out, I think, is just how tricky it is now with AAA video games, that this market towards the top up here for the most part has really spun Sony away from what made Sony PlayStation. And I get it, because way back then these were the AAA games. I understand. But I think you look at this shit and you go, I don't know if Sony should open like a boutique publisher for PlayStation, still exclusive, kind of like the movie studios do. But there's something wrong about this. There's something wrong about the fact that, you've got to spend this much to make this little. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just, imagine being Sean Layden back in the day when he first kind of rang the warning bell and said, this isn't sustainable. Because even with a massive fucking hit that you don't have to pay licensing fees to. So take Ragnarok, right? Ragnarok has made 280 million in digital. So that, let's just say it's made $400 million as of the leaks here. Probably costs 200 million. So you could say they made 200 million profit, which they did, but how much of that had to get spent off the shit that didn't hit? Or they didn't make their money back on. I don't know, man. I don't. I'm not saying that Sony should go back to making games that if you sold 1 million, you were a big hit. But I think what this shows is the audience out there for people who want to play video games at a core level. It's just, it won't work with this. So either this has to change in terms of this has to bring in a much bigger group of people, and it ain't going to come from production value, or you got to be able to let yourself go back and say, we're going to build a business around these. If we sell 1 million, we're happy as a pig in shit. Right? I don't see an upside at this point. It just seems miserable to be an executive trying to make these decisions. Ugh, no, thank you. But it's interesting, and like I said, this is kind of like a Rorschach test. Whatever you want to think about Sony or Xbox or PlayStation, again, I'm not saying numbers lie. I'm not saying the numbers are meaningless. They're clearly not. But I definitely think that without some more nuance to these numbers, it becomes really easy for people to spin them however they would like them to be spun. A couple other things real quick. I think it's clear that you can see that Dreams was not a big hit, which is really shitty. But I mean, again, they I don't mean like I knew it, I told you, but a lot of us knew it. It's like, it was dead from the beginning because of some boneheaded decisions. 600, it sold probably 1.5 million copies, and that's ridiculous for something so innovative. They could have had Roblox, but what are you going to do? All you have to do is look at the Twisted Metal numbers in here. And again, the Twisted Metal, the last Twisted Metal was 2012, before when most of the stuff was retail. And so the downloads were much later. But even then you can look at the numbers and go, yeah, there's not a big audience for it the way that it has been. You'd have to retool that whole fucking thing to get that back. But the amazing thing though is if you look at some of the smaller games, if you look at some of the games like Journey, right? Journey, $12 million in revenue. And this is, most of Journey was only downloadable, right? That's pretty fucking good for a game that probably cost $4 million. Maybe. Certainly Flower and Flow, which were profitable, didn't cost anywhere near that. So the question really becomes, you know, I get that Sony PlayStation as they stand now, this is not sustainable to make a bunch of these games, but my God, that's, you know, there's a game company in here somewhere that really needs to extract itself from this $250 million bullshit and somehow bring that essence of just great games that are sustainable back. I think that's just, you know, you see it in the fucking numbers, and it's a real tragedy that that's not good enough. And it's not. I get it. You know, it's, oh, wow, we made $6 million in profit. Or more than that, actually, if it was $4 million, but whatever. Even if it was half, we made $6 million in profit. It's still 12. It's still nothing. It's still nothing. That's, you know, nothing compared to what you could make if you roll these particular dice. But, you know, what it is, what it is. That's great, Jaffe. One great takeaway. It is what it is. Well, it is what it, shut up. Point is, there's some numbers, do with them what you will. Let's move on. Media Molecule has stepped up and put out a wanted ad in the newspaper. A wanted ad that says they're looking for a principal programmer / art tech programmer. Basically, it's a tech artist, somebody who makes the effects and comes up with really cool ways to deal with the limitations of the technology while still making the game look scrumptious and cool and all that good stuff that you expect. Now, what's interesting about this is they're making it very clear that they're making a new IP. Here's what they say. We are Media Molecule. That's all they say. It's a fantastic time to can't speak anymore. It's a fantastic time to join us as we embark on our next adventure, defining and executing the vision of our next project and settling into our gorgeous, newly refurbished studio in central Guilford. Gilbert? Remember that? That was a great movie. We are now searching for an exceptionally talented principal programmer, art technology. Partner closely is one of your responsibilities with the programming team to define and champion tech requirements and standards for Media Molecule's new intellectual property. So, you know, if that's you going over to, you know, the Sony site, it's a UK job, and apply. I know some people who I think they're working at other places right now that are some great tech artists. But anyway, the real news is, they're making a new IP. The reason, I mean, it's interesting. People love Media Molecule. Here's what I'm fascinated by and wondering. Not just with Hiroko Katukatiki, the interim CEO, head of PlayStation, but also with the changes that have happened at a staffing level at Media Molecule, and the fact that no matter what they try, short of old school Little Big Planet, they can't catch a break when it comes to making a big hit. I'm not knocking Dreams. Dreams was cool. I'm certainly not knocking Tearaway. Tearaway was awesome. But, you know, they just can't quite get the plane off the runway. And so the question becomes, are they going to be allowed to kind of continue that very art school, not really paying much attention to the market, not really paying much attention to the main demographic that purchases games on this very console, and make kind of whatever their flights of fancy demand? Or are they going to be kind of corralled a little bit into a more commercial box? I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something about this. As much as I know a lot of people value pure creative freedom, there's something pretty exciting in my mind about taking this incredibly talented team, assuming that all the talent or a lot of the talent is still there, and saying, we want that. We want the drive, the ambition, the innovation, but we want you to work in this box, right? I mean, to have Media Molecule make, I'm not saying they should go off and make like a first-person war shooter, although that would be interesting. And I'm not saying they should make a platformer like Ratchet, because we know even in the best of times, Ratchet's a brilliant game on PS5, didn't sell that well. But to do something where they are required to kind of work within the limits of the audience this time, I think that could be really cool. I think a lot of times you get the best stuff. I mean, this is not that wise. A lot of people say this. It's true. That's why they say it. A lot of people say a lot of things that mean it's true, but this is one of them that is true, which is to say that when you put up some limits on creative people and those limits have the product's best interest at heart, you tend to end up with really good, successful things. So I'm very much hoping somebody's kind of corralling these guys into a less sort of, we want to be Tim Burton and we want to be Wallace and Gromit and we want to just make the most imaginative fantasy things. And they're going, yeah, that's great. Now I got to sell copies of this fucking thing. So wear that hat too while you're being brilliant fucking game developers. So we'll see. We'll know sooner than later, I suppose. But I'm curious about this one. Also, my little friends, now look, the weirdest thing is this game that I'm about to talk to you guys about. This kind of flew. It's not that I didn't know it was coming. We're talking about Marvel Rivals. It's not that I didn't know they were making it and that there was an announcement. Of course I knew that, but I was really surprised because I didn't know they dropped any gameplay in their trailer, but lo and behold, they did. And I'm going to just put this up while I'm talking, but they put a new trailer up yesterday, but I didn't even know they dropped this trailer. I mean, it is literally Overwatch with Marvel. And, you know, if this wasn't Marvel or maybe DC, I'm trying to think of other properties, I would not give a fuck. That's how powerful Brand is, my good humans. I love these characters. I have since I was a little kid. The fact that I can go online and fight and have superhero battles, I want the fantasy. Even though, like I said, at a pure mechanics level, not really, you know, I'm not saying it's bad. People love Overwatch. It sounds like Overwatch 2 is starting to shape up and get better as well. And a lot of these mechanics in here are things that we've seen in many other similar hero shooters. So it's not like, oh my God, I want to do what Doctor Strange is doing. Doctor Strange basically has projectiles that it's really goofy when people use magic from their hands as a projectile instead of like a gun. It just never really looks very satisfying. But it's not like I'm like, oh, I can't wait to shoot projectiles. It's just that I want to be Doctor Strange, even though I know it's ridiculous. Even this right here, Groot getting on, or Rocket getting on Groot's shoulder. It looks like they all have team up abilities. I don't know how special case they all are, or if there's like there's, you know, two characters like, Hulk and Spider-Man might have one, and that's the real money shot team up. Everyone else, you get like more of a modifier. Oh, if you're magic around Namor, they're not the money shot team up, but they will give each other a boost of, you know, healing or something. But anyway, look at that. Galactus as a sexy lady. Come on now. But Brand, man. What can I tell you? What can I fucking tell you about Brand? I mean, it's terrible to say that, but I don't care. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible only in that I'd like to think better of myself. I would like to think that I am capable of being able, and again, I will walk away from it if it's a bad game the first day. I'm not continuing to play Marvel Snap obsessively because it's Marvel. That got me in the door. But if it was a shit game, like I walked away from the DC card game Alpha because it was just too chunky and slow and just not great. But it is weird though that, you know, you can fall in love with this stuff and you can have made video games and you know how the industry works and you know you're being manipulated by Brand. And that said, you still get there first day and say, I don't care. It's like the 10-year-old kid in me is the one who's driving the fucking car, man. As much as my intellect says stay away, not even stay away, but just like, yeah, wait and see. It looks like any other hero shooter. The emotional inner child of Jaffe is saying, oh my fucking God. Here's the Loki trailer they just dropped yesterday. Loki looks pretty interesting as a mechanic. It looks like you can make multiple versions of yourself. And I think they're operated by AI. So they're running around and it's kind of like, who's the guy in Marvel Snap? The Spider-Man villain that was Gyllenhaal, the guy with the fishbowl in his head. Mysterio. Right? You don't really know which one is the real Mysterio. So that's kind of cool. It could be interesting. But yeah, I got to tell you something. I mean, Brand is just, especially like Indiana Jones and Marvel, that really does it for me. I must have shown you this before, but I mean, you can find it online. There is a video where they had Spider-Man and Batman come to my birthday at Bartlett Jones. And I was like 49 years old or something at the time. And even that, when I see people that I know are just kind of like, making minimum wage, struggling to pay rent, have 5 roommates, but it's some dude who's dressed up as Spider-Man. Intellectually, I get it, but emotionally, I'm like, oh my God. And I know it's not Spider-Man. I'm not a fucking idiot, but it totally works on me. It works the magic. This is footage of Marvel Mania at Universal Studios. It is not there anymore. It would probably be doing killer business now. I don't know. It clearly wasn't that successful. It lasted for a couple of years. It was basically like Planet Hollywood or Hard Rock Cafe, but for Marvel Comics before there was the MCU. I think maybe the only movie that had come out at the time was Blade. And it shut down before Iron Man and the MCU kicked off. And it was cool, man. It was, again, they had all the characters walking around. I met Storm. I met Spidey. I met Cap. It was really awesome, and I loved it. I will say, on an interesting but sad video game note, this is where we were, me and a bunch of the Sony Santa Monica designers in '99. We had gone there for a design meeting, and we were just sitting around trying to figure out what our first Sony Santa Monica game would be. And as we were heading back to the car, the news broke that Columbine was happening. So it was really, it's tainted my memories of It's tainted my memories of... It's colored my memories of that day in that restaurant because of that association. But that said, though, this was pretty fucking cool. And my point is, that kid inside, man, he's alive and kicking. And go look at that Bartlett Jones video, man. Oh, fuck it. I'll just show you. So it was my birthday, and Q and Kristen and a number of the people, I guess, worked together to get superheroes to come visit. And I was bitching about Batman being a total loser. And then suddenly because they baited me to talk about Batman, and suddenly he comes in and I just start, laying into him with logic. And he thinks he's going to intimidate me, but it's like, fuck you, Batman. But then my hero shows up, the real fucking hero. There he is. I don't know what I was saying to him here. What was I saying? Hang on. Oh, I brought up Uncle Ben. Now he's all sad.
Uncle Ben. Sad, right? Right, but hey, right, but are you traumatized for life?
Well, when you're
watch this. Mom and Dad
dies, yes, he would be traumatized for life.
But he's not.
Good job.
He's a healthy.
So I was there. I knew they weren't real. I don't care. I was there. It was awesome. Thank you, Q, for setting that up. I got to hang out with my heroes for a little bit. Now listen, Tomb Raider 1 through 3, great game. I have it. I played it for a while. Remaster removes Lara Croft posters, previously highlighted as an Easter egg. So they put out a patch today, and as you can see in this photo, I guess this was from Tomb Raider 3 or 2, the one where she scuba dives. It's 3, Sleeping with the Fishes level. And I guess there was an Easter egg back in the day where you could find this area of her locker room or something, and there'd be posters up there. And when they released the new patch for the new game today, apparently that's gone now. So it's just, I thought they'd show us a picture, but these posters are now gone. It's just locker room metal or whatever is up there. And it's like, I thought about this. I mean, I get it. I get it, because maybe even though I would love for Lara Croft to go back to being a little more sexualized than she has been in the last game, just because I like that aspect. That's not the only aspect. But I get maybe if they're like, look, that's not who she is anymore. And in the future games, if these are new people playing these games, blah, blah, blah. I understand, protect the brand, evolve the brand. But, Marvel did something on their app the other day. This is kind of what you've seen Disney do at times, same company now, but they'll put this in front of old things that they re-release. This previously published content includes negative depictions of people or cultures. These stereotypes were wrong then and they're wrong now. Social change is a journey, and we must acknowledge where we've come from to build a more inclusive future. So, as much as I don't have a problem with the pinups, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with them, I do understand if they want to rebrand the character and find kind of a new way of the public looking at her. I understand why they would kind of cringe at this a little bit, but I would have much rather just them handled it like Marvel handles it, versus just changing it. It's gone. It's like, maybe on a new game that's okay, where somebody puts something in and the team's questioning it, like the trophy in God of War 3 at the time. But this is a remaster. This is meant to be a celebration of what it was, of what has come. And to remove it, the sky's not falling. I'll get on with my fucking life. But it's just, it's a little, I think it's a bad call. I think they should have gone with the Marvel thing and gotten on with things. That's what I think. There's an update to the PlayStation 5, or last couple of days there's been one, but it does something interesting, which I got to tell you something. I barely knew this was there. This is their game help system, right? Now, I have never used it. I had forgotten it exists. Here's what it is if you have forgotten like I have. So there are some games that at certain points, if you hit the PlayStation button and you bring up this main card on the left, if you've got this logo or this icon, little light bulb, and it's also a PS Plus thing, it lets you know, oh, there's help for this game. Here, I'll play the video while we're talking. And then depending on, what your objective is that you're chasing down, you can click it and you'll get a video or text or an image with text or whatever. I have never, ever, ever used this. And before I did this, I went to my PS5 and tried to find a game that had it. And even some games that apparently do have it, unless you're at the place in the map or in the scenario where the help is applicable to where you are, it doesn't show up. Which probably explains why I've never really even seen it, because it's very specific, right? But that's what happens is it brings up, in this case, it brings up a video. So this guy's looking for the cargo gold and you can pin it on the screen. And then that way he knows what to do to get it, right? There's a new update basically, right? There's an update that lets users add content. So up until this point, it had been done by the developers. First party did it a lot. Some third party titles were supported, but it was the developers going in and saying, here are the 25 places that we think people might want some hints or help. We'll do the work and you'll just have to access it at the time you need to access it. Now, it's kind of interesting. This starts, you'll see it in Stellar Blade on Friday if you do it, and you'll see it already in Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. And then more games will roll out over the coming months that have this. Not the help, but user created, right? So what happens is, I guess, all you have to do is go in and opt in on your PS5 under your capture and broadcast settings. And once you're opted in, it sounds like it's not like you can just make up whatever you want and go, I want to help somebody. I want to show them how to teabag somebody. Oh, ha, 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 right? The content gets uploaded and gets reviewed by a moderator, so it doesn't go up until Sony approves it. But even beyond that, it doesn't sound like you can roll your own piece of help content. It's more like you'll do things and it'll just capture it automatically if you turn on the option. And it doesn't take up any space, apparently. It'll take up space, but then it uploads it and automatically deletes it from your hard drive or something. So it's fine for people who are worried about that. But it doesn't sound like you are able to decide what to capture. It says once you turn on the settings, the PS5 will automatically capture a video when you complete a certain activity in a game. Thus, kind of like trophies that give you a screenshot. It just knows what they are. But you'd think if they already know what the activities are that they're going to, turn this feature on for, the game help, they would just fucking do it themselves. Because you're going to get you're playing Elden Ring DLC and you might get 500,000 clips in the first week. I don't know how many it's going to sell, probably a lot, of people killing the first boss. And then some poor son of a bitch mod has to go through all of them and decide which one. I'm a little confused by how this is worded, but it's worded to suggest all you do is turn it on and it just takes care of it. And I don't believe that's the case, but it says once you turn on the settings, which basically means that you say, yes, I'm opting into this program, your PS5 will automatically capture a video where you complete a certain activity in a game. Then it will be reviewed by a moderator, and if approved, your video will be published as a game help hint for PlayStation players to watch, learn from, and rate. Your videos will be removed from the PS5 console once they are uploaded to our servers, so it will not impact your storage. The process will be done automatically, so you don't need to edit or upload your clips. Only your raw game footage will be uploaded, so images and audio from your webcam, mic, and party chat will not be shared. Then, I mean, what's the point? I don't really, I love the point of Game Help, kind of. I'll talk about that in a second. But I don't even, I don't even really understand how this is going to work if everybody can just fucking do it and it's going to automatically capture it. I don't get it. But what I will tell you, whoever provides the clips, community or the developers, I was very surprised when I was researching this, going over to Reddit, and there were a lot of people that were just like, it's a game help feature is such a time saver, and everybody who's used it, loves it and they're raving about it. I want this. I use this all the time. If implemented right, like Hogwarts Legacy did, I absolutely love it. I'm having to come to terms with this, and I'm getting better at it, but I'm going to make a totally separate video about it because I just want to talk about this. But I'm just so stunned by the willingness for people to use hints, because a hint is like, okay, you're looking for where the handle is for the God of War puzzle. Let me give you a hint. It has something to do with an ability that you've unlocked in the last hour and a half. Okay, that's a hint. But turning on a video that just says, here's how you do it, and then you do it, and then you're happy you did it, that's not a hint. That's just following somebody's marching orders. And then what? You feel like you achieved something? You didn't do shit. You just cheated. But I mean, cultures change, cultures shift with the times. I understand. A lot of people clearly like this shit. I don't know if I would use it. Like, I might use it if it was just, I'm trying to beat this boss. Okay, let me give you some hints. Here are the 4 tells that are worth learning to recognize. Even that's a little far for me, but literally showing you where the gold is hidden, like it shows in the Ratchet and Clank clip, that seems a little, I don't know, that seems a little goofy to me. It's like, well, what work you putting in, pal? Following a video? Anyway, but that's out, and people seem to like it. The other thing I'll say that's kind of related. I was going to buy this game. I got an email today that it was on sale on my wish list. I have like, I don't know how many things on my wish list, but a lot, like 800 on Steam. And I was about to buy it, and then I saw that the reviews were mixed, and I went down and I started reading. This is Expedition, a Mudrunner game. SnowRunner, Mudrunner, love those games. I was excited for this one, and then I was like, oh, what's up with the reviews? And what's great about it is that, it's not just like a rating. It is text, right? So it was really good to read this, and people explained very specifically what was wrong with it. The maps are small and badly designed. The drone function's useless. Missions don't get help because of the drone. The arcade style of the game is garbage. And on and on with a lot of people echoing similar things. Just play SnowRunner, it's better. This is a really bad version. It's like the worst parts of SnowRunner, Mudrunner, blah, blah, blah. And it, I'm grateful for that because I didn't buy it. But the thing that really stands out to me is I really wish, and maybe they do, but I don't think so. Let's find out together, shall we? I am almost certain the Sony reviews, I think they're just numbers of stars. And I think that's really too bad. I think they would benefit from, even though I know it's a pain to type on the controller, you can use your voice and you can speak into the mic, and you can do it from the app on your phone. You can do it from your PC if you want, but
you're not exactly a people person.
I'll give you that.
Never had anyone to go with.
Well, then you're in luck. Everyone knows me there.
Anyway, sorry. But yeah, I mean, you go to the store and all you get are, it's almost useless. Like, why even have it at that point? If you go to Rise of the Ronin, you can see, that's how many stars it has. But you can't really learn anything about it. Unless you guys let me know in the chat if I'm missing a place you can go to read details. But so much of this, like, again, I'm not knocking Rise of the Ronin, and it's actually like an 86 on Metacritic. It's me from the future again. 86 on Metacritic user score. Obviously, the professional review score is lower. So this is probably close. But a lot of games you're like, Are they fanboys? Did they buy the game? Like, you do have to purchase or download it. It would be great if all these services would say you have to play for X hours, or this is how many hours you played. Like Steam at least tells you that, so you know how serious to take it. But does anybody ever use this? Like, for me, I will go to Sony, and maybe if I see this, then I'll go to Steam or Metacritic. But what would be great, if not just a direct link to Metacritic that opens up on the PlayStation 5, would be some fucking user reviews, man. I want to know why people gave it a 1. Are they bombing it, or is there valid concerns? What's the ironic part about it is these guys are nightmares for return policy, but they have the worst review customer service or customer facing product. Steam is brilliant for refunds, and they go out of their way to tell you what people thought of the game. So I'm not entirely sure how we got here. I mean, Sony is building a lot of different things where, Steam is like very dedicated to what they do. So, Sony's at PSN level is probably 50 projects going on at once, and you can't do it all, but it seems like it's time, right? We haven't ever had that, I don't think. Was there a time when people could type? Maybe there was. Let's find that out too. I know people are asking for it, and it looks like they've been asking for it for a while. This guy says it's missing by design. They'd get review bombed. Well, yeah, but that's different though. They wouldn't get review bombed if they put up some limits like you have to have played it for 3 hours. You have to own it. You have to have played it. But that said though, that's an easy thing to solve. But I guess it's some people in here are saying the issue is they don't want people writing negative reviews or something. It sounds like I don't ever go to the Xbox ones, but it sounds like Xbox has them. If you go to your Xbox, let's see if Game Pass on PC has it. All right, let's go to Tunic. It tells you the Metacritic. It'll link you to the Metacritic. Yep, opens up right there. But I wonder do they have user reviews? They probably do. Reviews, here we go. Come on now. Sony, what are you doing? Look at that. Sony. Get your thumb out of your butthole, boys. Get it done. Jesus Christ, man. What's your background? What's your wallpaper? I want to change it now from Dragon's Dogma 2. I don't know what to change it to, though. I love Dragon's Dogma 2, but I'm kind of looking for something else, okay? Fuck. Judgy fuck. All right, where are we at, boys? I know where we're at. A lot of reviews came out today. A lot of games are out this week. Let's talk about those. Look, man, there were a lot of games that came out this week. I don't know which ones are going to have staying power. There's some that I look at and go, okay, when that's down to $20, I want it. Here's a great example of one. This is not the big one of the week, but there's a lot about this that I really, really like. This is Sandland. This is the game that is from I apologize. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the guy who just died, who did Dragon Ball, that guy, this is one of his earlier games. Apparently the Hulu show is excellent. But the game itself is sitting at a 72. There's a demo over on at least PlayStation. It's really fun. Like, I love the vehicle combat. I love the look of it. I love the tone of it. But what I hear over and over and over from the reviews is that all that stuff's really great, but the world is so big and it gets so repetitive that, it's hard to want to drop $60 on it. And it's not even the money so much at the moment for me. It's more the time. Like, I don't have time to play a game like this that I'm probably, I know I'm going to get bored of it based on the reviews and stuff. But I mean, if this comes down to 30 or 20 bucks, I'll get it. It looks amazing. I love the art style. But I can't quite bring myself to make this one of the things I'm playing, given how much, that's so cool. Maybe I'll say fuck it and just do it. I don't know, man. I'd like to see the whole thing, but it's open world. And I'm just like, I know I'll never fucking get to all the good stuff in this game. So what's the point? I don't know, but it's fucking cool looking, man. Here's the Metacritic for you. 72, and the audience is in agreement. It's like 7.5. The game feels like a filler episode, particularly as you trample through the same patches of desert and other terrains, completing similar quests with similar goals. It remains a pleasant experience thanks to its stylish touches. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting. It's like, it's great. It's solid, but it kind of gets repetitive. And maybe that's okay. I don't know. But boy, it looks really cool. But the players seem to like it. What's the worst user review that nobody even bothered to write one that was negative? But clearly there were some people who did not dig it. But that's out this weekend. Have you played it? Maybe I'll go back and finish the demo. And if I really like it, I think maybe I'll pull the trigger because it's cool. So the other big game that a lot of people are talking about this weekend is Manor Lords. This was the top wishlist game on Steam for a long time. Made by one guy. Took the guy 7 years, and it's still early access, game preview, what have you. It is on Game Pass, so I decided to check it out. The reviews, if you can, it's early access, so, they're not full-on reviews, but the responses in some of the reviews, like IGN gave the early access a 7, but the gist of them were relatively similar, which is it is very cool, it is very much worth your time, it is very satisfying, but it is ambitious as fuck, and it requires a great deal of patience and a great deal of willingness to really embrace the systems of the game. And understand how, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul, basically, and how it kind of, everything relates to one another. What's cool is you can get all the way into the environment, or you can zoom all the way back out. Here's my little town. I am horrible at this, as you can tell. I've already got dead corpses, good Jaffe. I've got corpses piling up. They're burning them because people are starving. And I don't really understand how to play this game. I mean, I'm not a moron. I've played city builders before, but this one, like mechanically speaking, I just haven't quite I don't quite understand how to do a lot of things yet. But I've only spent like 30 minutes with it, right? So it is absolutely not forgiving. According to Polygon, this is not something for someone who's brand new to the city building genre, but there's something about it I like. As I get older, I do like these more, not just so much strategy games, but just sort of more, slower games that I can kind of pause and think, and, you can pause the whole simulation if you want and really think about what you want to do next. And so I'm eager to get into it. I want to get into it. I'd give it a 50-50 shot if I can really get my head around this game. Maybe anybody watching, maybe there's an easier game to get into that might be sort of like, not that I need my first city builder, but I kind of need my second or third city builder. But it is fucking cool though, man. I mean, when you look at sort of the level of customization, and then there's battles and shit, you can send people to battle with the nearby villages, and I'm not quite sure how far this can go in terms of your ambitions, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty fucking cool. It's Manor Lords. It's out now. If you got Game Pass, give it a play. I'm playing it like I play everything that I can on GeForce because it lets me turn up all the knobs to the best looking version of the game that they allow. But yeah, it's cool, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything with it. But look at that. It's just really pretty, man. What's over here? I should just fly around and explore the environment. Anyway, so I'm playing this a little bit this weekend as well. We'll see if I stick with it. And this is interesting. It relates to Stellar Blade. That's the big game of the week. But this is another Crab's Treasure. This, like Manor Lord is on PC Game Pass. This is on, I think, all the Game Pass. This is basically a Souls game in the world of SpongeBob. You're a little cartoony crab, and you're going around. I think I played the beginning of it on Game Pass. You have your shell, your little hermit crab, and you have your shell repossessed. And so you're on an adventure to try to get it back, and I'm not sure where it goes. It's good. I was talking to Spaz about it. He was playing it the other day, and I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "It's fine. It's decent." And it is. I mean, it's really, I have nothing bad to say about it other than, I'm playing the Rest for the Wicked, which is kind of Souls-like. I'm playing a little bit of Stellar Blade, which is kind of, I'm good. I'm good up on these kind of games. Like, I don't need any more of these. Okay, let me figure out the boss. Let me figure out the patterns. Let me approach things carefully. I'm good. So, I mean, look, let's put it this way. I loved Liza P, and I rarely finish shit. I finished the demo of Liza P, but I'm not going to go back and play that game as great as it was. So I'm never going to fucking play this game. That's the goddamn truth. But it's great. But that particular part of the market is so fucking saturated. I don't see how I mean, launching on Game Pass was the smart decision, but I don't think this is going to have any legs. Crab legs. Boom! Dear universe, thank you for my sense of humor. It's so good. I shit myself. Stellar Blade comes out. Played the demo. I have no real plans on playing the game, frankly. I let the hype pass through me. And again, it kind of goes back to the crab game. It's like as cool as Stellar Blade is, I do like the sexual stuff. I like the violence. I like the tone. I enjoyed the demo. I just don't want to play another Souls-like game. And I also hear a lot of reviews. This is so weird, man. Why do they do this? I read a lot of reviews where they're just like, it gets really good and there's some really great stuff on the second half, but the first 3 or 4 hours of combat, it's just really dull. And I'm like, what are you doing? Whether it's Sony or shift up the developer, didn't anybody ever catch that and go, you know what, let's just chop some shit. I know we built it, put it out as DLC or put it at the end of the game as like, hey, look at the stuff we cut. You can play that and get some power-ups or some such shit. But why would you do that? You gotta excite them right in the beginning and keep them hooked for the whole thing. That's the job, man. But between that and not wanting another Souls game, I'm not that vibing with this. The reviews are great. 82. Well, let's see where it is. This was the other day. Right now it's an 82. Eurogamer loved it. Eurogamer Germany. And the people reviews, the human reviews, where are they? Let's see what the people think out in the streets. Excuse me, ma'am. Have you played Stellar Blade yet? What do you think? Well, now, if I'm being honest, yeah. Well, I want you to be. Well, if I'm being honest, I think I'm getting moist in the nether regions when I see her. Now, don't tell Earl that. I mean, ma'am, I would never, ever Don't you tell him that or I'll shoot you. I swear to God I will, but I swear. I'm going to tell you something else. I first felt this way when I saw that Wonder Woman movie. You remember that? I do. Great freaking movie. Well, I first thought about it and felt that way. I just stayed in my seat a little bit after the movie ended, you know. Smelled weird, like popcorn and... Anyway, I might. Do you think I might be one of them lesbian? Ma'am, I don't know, but I think that's great. Stellar Blade, I am looser and I am wetter than a goddamn Hooters waitress at a Republican National Convention. The people, they really like it. 9. So cool. This is the opposite of review bombing to some extent. I think there's a lot of people who wanted to love this and they were going to love it regardless. But, between this and this seems to be a rational sense of where this game is falling for most people who are honest about it. I'm not saying you're a liar if you give it a 9. I'm just saying that it doesn't seem like a 9 to me, but it seems really, really good. Just not something I want to play right now. The censorship stuff I think is again, my censorship. They didn't cover up a bunch of other stuff. So I don't think we know all the story yet. There's videos out there of her wearing that skin suit and her butt's bouncing. She's hanging on a ladder. You can take the camera and put it underneath and look at her butt. Nobody got rid of that. What they did cover up was just some cleavage and one costume, which makes me go, okay, there's got to be another story here. It can't be that suddenly they became all Christian nationalists and decided to find the Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I guess you find the Jesus first, but you know what I'm saying? It's got to be a technical reason, or maybe they were worried it looked too much like an outfit that somebody saw at Fashion Week and legal was like, guys, that's this dress. You're going to get fucking sued by whoever makes those things. I don't know who does fashion. Dolce & Gabbana, is that classes or something? I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? That seems more likely given that they didn't wholesale change the sexuality of the game. So it would be nice to get a little information on it, but it's hard to buy the narrative that a lot of the fanboys are putting out that this was some kind of Puritan censorship. I was watching the Petition signer video that's going around about Stellar Blade. You can see it yourself. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but some of the, I feel bad for this guy and this guy. Let me just 14 seconds. Watch this real quick.
But to send a clear message to Sony, Nintendo, and the rest of the publishers in the gaming industry that we players will not tolerate any form of censorship moving forward. I
just feel bad for the guy. because it's so clear he's been manipulated and lied to. This is another one.
Hey Sony, I want you to take off the censor off the games, Stellar Blade, because I'm looking forward to play this game as well. Because my game won't be here until Wednesday from the mail, and I want things to change, and what's going on around the world and stuff. And sign a petition, all right, and stuff. All right, bye.
I mean, I do. I genuinely feel bad for some of these guys because it's just like, look, I don't know. It fits the definition of censorship, but maybe what they should be saying is we don't like that Sony is following a policy they have where a lot of the more R-rated stuff doesn't get into our video games, even though there's an M on the box. Or even though we were led to believe by the marketing that there would be, no censorship. But as I've said before, the very nature of somebody in power, the game director, the producer at Sony coming in and saying, I don't think this is fun. Let's change the damage that the blade does when it, hits, when it's blue or whatever. That's censorship, right? But who's being censored? Is who on the team or who in the creative process or the production process do you put as the person who, when they don't get what they want, it's censorship, or when they don't get what they want because someone on the team has said, well, I want this, right? Because that's video game making. This idea that we won't stand for censorship, you stand for it all the time. You make it sound like the government has come down and they've said, no, we won't allow you to see this. And it's like every decision that gets made every day in a video game production process is censorship. But I know what you mean though, which is like, you don't like Sony taking away what you had anticipated being sexy time content. And I get it. I don't suffer for it because I don't really need it in video games. There are, and I'm not trying to like flex, like, oh, there's real women out there, but there are. And there's also just easy to acquire porn out there. If you have the technology to make that video for the petition, you have the technology to go to Pornhub. Sony is a business and they do things that they feel will be in the best interest of the business. The other thing that makes me, and you don't have to like that, but signing a petition will do nothing. If you want to send a message, just don't buy the game and make it clear that maybe the reason you're not buying the game is that'll send a message. Short of that, this petition's just stupid. And all the people signing it have been kind of, I don't know who lied to them, but they've been led to believe this will matter. Well, it won't. It's a ridiculous concept. Just don't buy the fucking game. Save your money. Get a fucking PC to play whatever the fuck you want. Support the company's hell. I do consulting work for a company called Movie Games. They put out a game a few years back that I love called Lust from Beyond. It was and remains a X-rated horror game. And I bought it originally because before I even knew, I wasn't consulting with the company. I just was like, oh, this will be funny to stream because it's like a porn game, but it's an action, or it's a porn game, but it's a horror adventure game. I've never seen that before. And I thought it was going to be a jokey piece of shit. It's a genuinely well-made game that happens to also have X-rated content. It was really cool. And there's some creepy shit in there, man. I mean, there's conjoined twins doing it with this lady, and it shows it. And I mean, it's a weird, disturbing game, and I think it's great. But if you really care about that, and that's fine, I'm not judging that. But if you really care about that, I know not everybody wants a PC or can afford a PC, but eventually you can afford a PC. Eventually you can afford a low-end PC and you can stream GeForce, or maybe just eventually you can afford a decent rig that will run a couple years old games. Certainly it'll run the shit on itch.io, which is where most of the experimental weird shit's happening anyway. But if you want it on Sony, it's kind of like being upset that, it's kind of like, I don't watch network TV that much anymore, but like when Friends was all the shit and Chandler and Monica, the Courtney Cox, were together. And maybe Matthew Perry and Courtney Cox were like, oh, we would love to show them actually having sex. We think it would be so funny. And then NBC's like, oh, yeah, but you can't do that. Oh, they're censoring. It's like, if you're looking to NBC in a sitcom, a mainstream sitcom, which is kind of in this analogy, that's Sony, to be the place you go to get your sexual fulfillment in media, that's not what they do. So you're really setting yourself up for, to be disappointed and angry. And I get it. You could say, well, they advertised it. They didn't really. You'd never win that in court because it's not false advertising. Because there's no definition of censorship in that this is the uncensored version. What does that even mean? Like I said, somebody makes one decision, it's censored. Every decision is censorship. So since that definition is so broad as it applies to the creative process, I don't think you've really, but it was misleading. It was clear what they were intending. And I think that is fair to be pissed at that if you were looking forward to that. But again, at that point, I think the real answer is just stop supporting them. They're not going to change unless they lose money. So seriously, go to Pornhub. I don't think that's what this is about for a lot of people. I think it's clearly they feel, I don't know. I mean, look, they feel like they've been lied to, or they feel like they're being treated like kids, like little children. One guy in the video here, he's like, oh, I'm a grown ass man. I should be able to, and all that's great. But again, that's not what PlayStation is. And the writing's been on the wall for a long time. The games cost too much. The PR is too negative. They're not going to be that for gamers. They just won't. They make too much money staying in the good graces of families and parents and mainstream audiences. The last thing they're going to do is risk, a big fucking PR nightmare from some busybody ambulance chasing lawyer or parent for a game at all, let alone a game like this that you can't really defend. You could defend The Last of Us 2 and say, oh, it's narrative and story and this and that and the other. This is admittedly meant to be titillating, according to the director, which is great. I got no issues with that. But when you that's your pitch, you can't really defend it at a PR level, right? Because the number of people who will champion the fact that if your Sony stood up and said, no, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want it to be super sexy and whatever. The number of people who are going to show up and buy the game that would buy it because of that is minuscule compared to the losses they would take in the PR, which could translate into financial losses if they're on this ambulance chasers on Fox News and Newsmax and all that, banging the drum that Sony's selling your kids porn. So, and that's how it's going to be. It does look great. Maybe I'll get it and play it on, you know what I'll do? I don't know. Here's what I was going to say to you. I was going to say, maybe I'll get it when it comes out on PS Plus or Classics or whatever they call it, and I'll play it on easy. But no, I won't. Not because I don't care, but because I just don't have the time. There's too much to play, and I'm starting to learn how to get comfortable with the fact that I'm not going to get it all done. I'm not going to play it all. And the idea that I'm going to go back and play this, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. It looks great. It looks cool. I don't want another Souls game right now. I don't want the headache. But I hear people love it. I hear they're enjoying it. The one thing I did like about good Sir Gene Park's review, it didn't even occur to me until he wrote this. I'm like, oh, that's right. He says, he gave it 3 stars. He says, I think the discourse is missing that's exceptionally rare in the global games market is to see a game with a Korean woman as its lead. The director confirms to me, to Gene, that he defines Eve as Korean, one that's designed by Koreans, modeled after Korean woman, voiced by a Korean woman, and in a Korean-made game. She is Korean-coded in every sense, and Kim is well aware that she represents only a singular, narrow definition of beauty. But I do think that's a good point that I hadn't thought about. It's like everyone's always going on about this is woke and that's woke, and yeah, when's the last time you saw a Korean anything, let alone a Korean woman, leading a big-budget action game? I think that is pretty fucking cool. So, there's some cool discourse around this game. But again, I probably won't be giving it much of my time just for the reasons I said. The main game I'm playing this weekend is I'm continuing to be obsessed with No Rest for the Wicked. I keep coming back to it. I just love this game. And let me show you something that was really cool that I saw this weekend. So the team at Moon Studios is pretty engaged with the audience right now. It's quite admirable, but it's a marathon, as they say, not a sprint. And the amount of updates that they've given to the audience, the amount of patches, I think they're on like the 5th one in like a week. I don't know how sustainable that cadence is, that pacing is. But you know, look, if you're launching a game and people are loving it, it makes sense that you're excited as shit. And so I'm sure that's fueling them a little bit, but I just can't imagine they're going to sustain that level. But that doesn't mean the game's not going to be amazing. It just means that I think, you know, a lot of people who are like, this is the most amazing thing. The developer talks to us all the time. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's wonderful, but A, is it sustainable? And more importantly, I don't know, it's great when everything's going great, but the minute they start making changes people don't like, and the minute the fans start becoming toxic assholes, which happens all the time, I just wonder if they're not setting themselves up to be really disappointed. Not the fans, but the developer. Kind of like, oh my God, this is way more than we kind of anticipated and signed up for, because these fans are driving us fucking crazy. Regardless, though, they are on top of it. It's really cool. And I got a note from, let me show you this real quick. So I was tweeting about it. I tweeted out a review I did of this game. And this is the creative director, Thomas Mailer. I don't know him, but he says, thanks, David, after I was saying how great the game was. Always good to hear when peers enjoy your work, and always crazy to me when I hear that from designers whose games I literally grew up playing. Now, that is pretty cool to me, the fact that there is a game now that I'm approaching it and enjoying it only as a fan. Like, I'm not playing it for research. I'm not playing it like, oh, maybe I should hire these people away or whatever. It's bringing me joy as a player, you know, and the idea that the guy who is the creative director, which is, you know, was the job I used to have, is, you know, going, oh yeah, you know, your games made me happy, you know, not mine, but our games, but he's, you know what I mean? When I was a kid, when I was growing up, I'm like, that's so cool, man. I love that. But, yeah, I am playing the shit out of this. I'm building up my character, and I'm going to tell you something. I know I was walking around without any clothes on in Elden Ring, but it's what makes me fast. I'm not as good at fighting as a lot of you guys, so I need to keep my characters able to dodge the fuck out of the way. So she's going to be in her undies for the rest of the game, I think. Although I do have some really cool outfits I can put her in. You know, they're just, look at that. It's just so detailed. The art is so great. I fucking love this. This is No Rest for the Wicked. It's only on Steam right now. I'm sure they'll be coming to console. Sony and or Microsoft would be wise to go out of their way and open up a checkbook and say, might we have an exclusive? Really good stuff. Anyway, it's very, you know, it's so immersive in the environments and stuff. It just the audio is so good, and it starts raining and the wind is blowing. It really gives you a great sense of being in this wonderful fantasy novel. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of this fucking thing. I could just play it right now and forget that I have to work and make videos. But yeah, here you go. No Rest for the Wicked. Highly recommended. Play it. Let me know what you think. Oh, and I will say one of the cool things that I'm really digging about it, because I just started this part of the game. Like I'm at level 10, almost level 11 character at the moment, but I've been mostly fighting and exploring and all that. But there's all these, like, you know, crafting elements, right? Like things like ore and wood and all this shit that I'm just like, okay, I'm picking it up. I don't really know what it does. All this stuff right here. And it wasn't until recently that I got to the center of the town, and there's this dude who's like, let's make the city great again. He doesn't talk like that. That's how he sounds. He's an idiot. Let's make the city great again, he says to me. And he's got all these tasks, right? And it's cool because as you bring him various items, you know, various crafting items, iron, clay, wood, what have you, he'll go about basically building the town. So you can get your own house in this game. I haven't done that yet, but what's cool about it is it kind of reminds me of like a more detailed version of Unicorn Overlord, where as you bring them supplies, the town gets better. But it's just kind of a visual. But in this case, the actual level design of the town changes. So like this door was not here before. But now that I gave him some stuff to finish a staircase, when I come back, this door has appeared and it has created a shortcut, all the way up to sort of what's called the Rookery, which is, I got to open those chests in a second, but which is where my character sort of sleeps and lives and continues to come back to throughout the adventure to kind of get abilities and things like that. So I've never seen the kind of level up situation where you're crafting the overall world map by stuff you collect. I've seen individual like homes and stuff, but I'm just getting into that part of the game now, and I think it's really cool. The developers were talking last night on Twitter. Look at this, so gorgeous. They were talking last night on Twitter about it, and they said, there's so much more we want to do. They said this is their magnum opus. They want this to be Lord of the Rings for them. This is Fellowship of the Rings. And they've just got this big, grand, ambitious vision for it. And, who knows if they'll get there. But I think ambition's a great thing. And especially when you can kind of tie it together with some real fucking talent, which is clearly what we're looking at here. So I don't know, fingers crossed. But so far, this is easily, not that it matters, but it's easily Game of the Year contender. I have a feeling I'll be spending so much time in this world this year. Loving it tons. So I want to let you know real quick, one of the benefits of being a member here at the Gabbin' in the Games is lunch with Jaffe. That's right, I said it. I have an ego big enough to admit that having lunch with me is the bee's knees. It's good stuff, whatever the English say. Here's the point, though. We did one last week. We did the lunch with Jaffe. It was well attended. It was a lot of fun. It went a little something like this. See this? Of course, right when I start. I bet it's the dog. Hang on, let's all take this call together. Hello? Oh, great. Is Ace ready? Yeah. My dog's clean. His nails have been cut, and his butthole has been expressed. I can't. Oh, my God. That's what they say. It's like, would you like an anal expression? I'm like, well, not from this side of the counter. Are you going to come over there? And she goes, no, for your dog. I assume everybody's getting Stellar Blade, or no one, not really.
I am.
I'm not paying $70.
Oh, boy. I'll wait for it to go on sale just a little bit.
Angel, why don't you say, oh boy, did you play the demo and not like it?
No, it's just that I always have a huge buy panic when it comes to Eve, and I really love Stellar Blade.
What do you mean? What's a buy panic?
A buy panic means a bisexual panic that you're choosing like which characters you fall in love with.
Whoop-de-doo! Wow! So what have you been up to, Rob the Mod? Oh my God, guess what? Sorry, go ahead. What have you been up to, Rob the Mod? My therapist says let other people finish.
I mean, I didn't start, so you're good.
All right, good. Fuck you. Let him. Go ahead.
I haven't been up to much. Just work stuff.
Oh, I'm glad I let you
Boring.
finish. All right. Rob the Mod, you're up.
H.
Telekinetic prowess of the enigmatic Jean Grey, a delicate flower with
Marvel girl.
mountains and men with her mind. Tremble at the
Oh,
monstrous might of
cool.
the brilliant beast.
There was this girl I had a big crush on. So it's exactly what it seems like. It's me and a handful of other people it's just like hanging out. There's no official topics. We talk about all kinds of things. It's shoot the shit. It's not a show. It literally is just we're having lunch and hanging out. So if you've ever wanted more of a kind of an intimate conversation with myself and your fellow Gabbin' and Games members, this is the place to be. We do this once a month. We have another one coming up in about 3 weeks. So right now, it is for all members and mods. Consider a membership. All the information is down below, either here or over on the Patreon. I was trying to say it classy, but that ain't me, baby. Come on, my dear, delightful friends. That has been the Gabbin', and that has been the Games. I appreciate you being here. I very much appreciate you spending some of your time with me. That means a lot. Thank you for that. I, of course, want to shout out to all of our Diet Soda Soldier members for keeping the show going. Cult Calypso members, of course. And, of course, the very top of the food chain. Not that they're better humans, but they probably are. I want to make it clear that we are very, very grateful to our God Award tier contributors. And these folks are salt of the earth, and they will cut you. Lee Perez, Rotten Tanuki, Zach Procrastinates, and Big Bad Eddie Torres. These guys are the backbones of this goddamn show, and I appreciate it, fellas. Mods, thank you so much. People in the Discord, thank you so much. New viewers, welcome. Old viewers, welcome back. And members, thanks again. Be well, be safe, and I will see you on the next tier video game show. Okay.